Hi, my name is Matt Maerowitz, and I'm an Arizona lawyer who practices in the area of personal injury law. And I know there are so many lawyers out there who say they do personal injury law, and in fact, if you've driven around and you've seen the billboards in Arizona, there are so many lawyers who say they do personal injury law and they want you to call them. Unfortunately, many of these lawyers, especially the ones who are on billboards, tend not to meet some pretty basic criteria that is often a very important considerations when making the decision to hire a personal injury lawyer. Stay tuned. So if you've been injured and somebody else is at fault, the chances are you have a pretty wide selection when choosing a personal injury lawyer because there's so many lawyers out there who practice in the field of personal injury law like myself. Unfortunately, I feel like this is particularly the case with personal injury lawyers. Many of them do not actually do the necessary work that is needed for proper representation to maximize the value of the case and give you the type of representation you deserve. There are many lawyers that say they do personal injury law, but they'll just filter you, send you to somebody else. You'll never get a hold of this lawyer, and then next thing you know, your case is poorly handled, sometimes not even really handled at all. So I'm going to give you kind of three pretty basic criteria that you should look for, and you'd be surprised to find out that many of the lawyers who are on those billboards actually don't meet these basic criteria. So the first one is the lawyer even licensed in the state of Arizona? This is necessary because in order to practice law in Arizona, you have to be licensed in Arizona. So you may be asking, well, why are there people's faces on billboards saying that they're lawyers if they're not even licensed in Arizona? However, a lot of these lawyers work for these or manage these large law firms, sometimes national law firms, and they're not actually based in Arizona, and thus they're not even licensed in Arizona. Instead, they will have an Arizona licensed attorney, sometimes part of their firm, sometimes not even part of their firm, that they'll send you to, so you will not actually be getting the lawyer you think you're hiring. You'll be getting somebody else, sometimes with little experience actually in the field that your case is in. Secondly, did they go to an accredited law school? That's the second question you should be asking. There are so many law schools around the nation, actually over 200, but many of them don't have a lot of those vigorous standards necessary to graduate, and some aren't even accredited. There are so many good law schools in the country, including two of them which are in the state of Arizona. In fact, both Arizona State and University of Arizona have law schools that consistently rank in the top 50. And while it is true that there are many great lawyers that don't come from great law schools, that's normally a pretty good barometer when all else is equal in trying to decide what type of lawyer to hire. And then third, does the attorney that you're hiring have courtroom experience? This is a very common one, particularly with personal injury lawyers. Many personal injury lawyers haven't even stepped foot inside a courtroom handling somebody's case. Many personal injury lawyers, they'll either filter you to someone else, have a paralegal do all the work, or they will take your case in the outset, get you in the door, do some of the initial work on your case, but if they're not able to properly settle your case, they won't actually file a complaint in court, never even appear in court, and instead they will tell you that your case is being turned over to somebody else, sometimes not even really with your consent, and they'll claim that this lawyer is someone who has much more experience in the courtroom. This is a problem though, because that basically starts the process all over again, and you should really be having, if you have a proper claim, you should have the same lawyer throughout who's already familiar with you, who's already familiar with the facts of your case, who's already investigated your case. So that's one of those critical questions that you should ask before hiring a lawyer. Are you going to be the attorney that's handling my case regardless of whether we go into court or not? Because especially with some of the bigger insurance companies, many times going into court is necessary to properly resolve your case. And it seems like so few attorneys will actually do the heavy lifting and go into court as necessary. Now for me, if you hire me, you get me. I do all the work that's necessary. I'm familiar with court. I go to court all the time. It doesn't scare me like it might scare some other lawyers. And that is the Maerowitz law advantage that you have that many other attorneys don't have when you hire my firm. Call me 480-927-3700 if you've been injured, and I will give you a free consultation with an honest assessment of your case. Again, my number is 480-927-3700.